right, let's do this. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Not Content Podcast. My name is Jerome Cuson. As always, please like and subscribe us on YouTube. Click the bell icon for notifications whenever episodes come up. You can also listen to us traditionally through Apple and Spotify. Please, again, leave a 4 or 5 star review so as to get people to find the show and enjoy the show. My co-host, as always, is Brian, and tonight we are going to be discussing the 1987 Joe Dante joint, Innerspace. Brian, all I can say is it feels like lately there are a lot of podcasts that are shifting to video, and I want to assure everyone and promise everyone in the most positive way possible that other than what you see here on YouTube, we will not be doing any video podcasting.
It's just hard and a green screen, and you have to make your hair nice all the time. And sometimes I just don't want to make that effort, Jerome. Sometimes I just
Listen,
want to
man,
sit back and talk.
nobody wants to see our faces. I mean, face for radio is a fair statement for both of us.
Damn Skippy. Damn Skippy. I
So
just want to point out that we go ahead.
I need to point something out. We have beef, Brian. We got big beef.
Listen, it's called the Mr. Perfect versus Bret Hart portion of the NFL playoffs, basically, is what it is.
But that's, I mean, specifically what is happening on Sunday.
I mean, what, that you're hosting, the Rams are coming over.
The Rams are going to come when it's into single degree wind chill, and they are going to be playing your Los Angeles Rams.
I know. It's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting because I think Stafford's old and he's showing it, but that's fine. I don't think this team was supposed to be a Super Bowl team anyway, but I don't know.
I mean, that's where we were at the beginning, but here we are at the end, and a lot of people think the Rams are going to win the Super Bowl.
I don't know. They had a very tough time against Carolina, and they really shouldn't have. But I don't know. Are we just kind of misjudging Carolina based on like the fact that they're a sub 500 team?
I mean, Carolina is not good.
It's tough, man. Because watching that game, like I was shopping during that game, and I was like highs and lows. You know what I mean? I was like, what? How could you let this happen again? Because the exact same thing happened early in the season, and in that case, Carolina beat us. So I'm just gonna take it with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? No hard feelings.
Are we gonna wager? Are we gonna wager?
It's up to you, man. I'm probably thinking the Bears are gonna win at home because you know what I mean. It's like
you are no fun at all.
Listen, if the Rams had home field, we'd be talking differently. I think because I don't know, just something about cold weather and the Rams just never ever gels well.
I mean
we beat Minnesota, but we beat them in the dome.
The bear weather thing is not real. I mean, the San Francisco 49ers in 1989 destroyed the Bears, and it was very similar to the weather that we will be experiencing on Sunday.
We will see. It's just a very different mindset. I'm not going in thinking like super like, oh, we're going to beat them down. I can't do that. You got to be humble in the NFL. You know what I mean? It's just, especially with the NFL, you got to be very humble. You know what I mean? Because it's not like the Dodgers where you're going to get like these crazy dynasty teams year after year after year, back to back. With the Rams, you're going to get lucky. You're going to get one playoff win or not, like for the last couple of years, so.
Perhaps. All right, shifting the conversation of the movie. Innerspace is a very silly and unrealistic movie. The most realistic part is everyone falling in love with Meg Ryan. That is completely real.
Agreed. And again, this is one of those 80s movies that was filmed near my house. I had to look it up because I was like, I recognize these streets. They just look much cleaner. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's about a mile away. The lab where they do the testing on the ship, that's near my house. It looks like Satakoy and like maybe Topanga-ish around that area, but it's around that area, like industrial area. So the only reason I know that is because I bought some weed from that area years ago, and I recognize the streets from Innerspace. So
what a surprise!
And if you want to go further, like. So this movie is sort of like a Terminator knockoff with the bodyguard in this movie.
It's like a Terminator, like it's also like a War Games, like it's aping from a lot of genres, and I mean it's very much in the Joe Dante wheelhouse. There's way too much going on. It's very entertaining.
And notice that he's chasing the guy around the LA River of the San Fernando Valley. Did that not look familiar, Jerome?
Oh, it absolutely. I mean, of course, it's iconic.
And then, of
I
course,
mean,
Terminator 2 comes out 4 years later. So it's almost as if Joe Dante said, I'm going to rip off Terminator. And Jim Cameron said, oh, you're going to rip me off? I'm going to rip you
well, I
off.
mean, there's also the Total Recall. Like, I couldn't help but think of Total Recall when the face thing was happening with Martin Short.
Oh, yeah, that thing too. Except I would say this did it better. But that could
I
be
mean,
a discussion about special
this
effects.
is less I mean, I think this movie is. I mean, it is also a cartoon in so many ways, but I think it is obviously the
And
context is much
also, for
different.
the record, folks, this movie won Best Visual Effects at the Academy Awards, which I think for the
In
time looks
1987,
about
I
right.
think this is absolutely correct. That is the correct decision in 1987. I think.
It looked really good. Like the old analog 80s look that you was like, how did we pull off technology in the 80s through these small computers and giant
I mean,
buttons
him
kind of look?
traveling around his body. I mean, it looked different. It looked realistic. I mean, that was it looked really good, and you could tell that they moderated the shots so that they weren't focusing on it too long. But it really did feel like Dennis Quaid was just in this little ship the whole time, just bebopping around Martin Short's body. I think the visuals were a
I
really
got
nice.
Iron Man vibes. I got to tell you what, because that's that. I mean, it's not totally like just a single suit. It's a ship, but it's still that vibe of the dude in the suit,
I
right?
mean,
You know what I mean?
Dennis Quaid had a very easy job. I mean, I guess not. Maybe like from an acting perspective, he didn't have an easy job, but in terms of like all he's got to do is sit there for however long he had to sit there.
Like, I wonder if they actually had like Martin Short come in and like be in his ear to get him going in scenes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
sometimes it's weird. Like sometimes they have the actual actors there. Like you read about some of the movies
Because
where that
we've
happened.
all read about Gandalf, right, in the first Lord of the Rings, where he just kind of had a breakdown because he was just like talking to nobody. Like, I can imagine Dennis Quaid having the same kind of like, God, I need to get out of this goddamn ship. That's why he's like drinking too. If you, I mean, that's the character, but he's like so anxious to drink in that little tiny ship because he's so anxious. But a little character detail there. But I thought it was a little good detail. And you mentioned this movie's kind of like a Top Gun ripoff, which it kind of is. Because I can imagine Ice and I mean I can
I
imagine Val
mean, Dennis
Kilmer in the role.
Quaid, and the main reason I say that is because it feels like Dennis Quaid is very much in the Tom Cruise, like very
He's like Goose's
cocky.
like cousin or something, right? like
Yeah, I mean, he's also an alcohol. Just the opening scene of this movie is really weird because we are introduced to him as him being a drunk. And in my head, I'm like, okay, you want us to believe that he's somebody that they would do this experiment with. And he seems competent, but he is introduced as being incompetent. And I thought that was really strange.
see, I think the thing is that we can trust you with these like going into rabbit type situations, but we're not going to trust you with a ship, or like a military ship in like an actual mission. Like that's the vibe I'm getting.
Like
It's like
it
he's kind
almost
of a
felt like
joke.
we needed an introduction of him being like a competent pilot, and then we show him to be a drunk.
Yeah,
Like
we
instead of
never see him
showing
as that.
him,
That's the thing is like we never see him as the competent pilot first, which we probably needed that scene. But this movie's already 2 hours anyway. Like I
yeah, I
get
mean
why maybe they cut that out.
this
But
movie is
I
very
couldn't help but think like the beginning of the movie is him getting beat up because he's drunk and he's getting beat up by other sailors and Navy people. I couldn't help but think of Shawn Michaels in 1995 getting beat up and then having to say like, "Oh, I'm too beat up.
oh
Sorry,
man,
guys." You know what I mean? Because
the,
that was
a lot
exactly
of
that
drunk acting
situation.
from Dennis Quaid though, and I personally am not a fan of Dennis Quaid and his politics. We are not going to necessarily get into any of that on this episode. So I am going to say some nice things, but please understand I do not like Dennis Quaid. But like good drunk acting from him, I will say.
Yeah. Once if I'm getting the Thor vibes from Ultron, it's a good it's a good drunk scene. You know what I mean? Because at least it's revealing character, and it does reveal his character. And we kind of mentioned like he is competent, but he's also pissing people off all the time, which is not a good thing. So probably why
Right,
he's
and
like,
that's also reflected in the Martin Short scene. So Martin Short's a sex symbol in this movie, and it's really, really weird to me how they are trying to make him seem competitive with Dennis Quaid for Meg Ryan, which is funny for a couple of reasons. Number one, all these years later, he is dating Meryl Streep, and Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan would go on to get married. And you could probably make a really amazing movie about their marriage because of how it ended and of how apparently they were both cheating on each other. And their offspring has gone on to arguably be as big of a star as both of them. And we'll see how Jack Quaid's career goes. But He's doing really well right now.
I wouldn't say he's on the Meg Ryan level. I think Meg Ryan is like something we got to talk about. Like Meg Ryan in '95 is like top level
Meg
of like,
Ryan from 1987 to 1997, 98. I mean, it's an all-time run, that's for sure.
yeah, but see, he's not on that run yet. He's on the TV
He's not
run, I would
on that
say.
run. He's on a really. I
But
mean,
he's
he's on a
definitely on a
good.
better run than his dad, I would say. Because I think his dad at that point kind of like you hit any given
I mean,
Sunday, and
Dennis
after
Quaid
that,
has
it's like
always
whatever.
been like a second tier. I mean, he's always kind of been like, if we can't get Val Kilmer, we'll get Dennis Quaid, or if we can't get Tom Cruise, we'll get Dennis Quaid. Like he's very like
That's about right.
he gives the matinee idol vibe a lot, and I think that's is both helpful because he's a very attractive man, but I think the issue is like his acting, like, and you can just tell even in this movie, like he has one note and he plays it well, but you're not going to get you're you're not going to get very much out of him otherwise. Like Martin Short probably could play Dennis Quaid's role, but Dennis Quaid could never play Martin Short's.
I agree on that one because Martin Short is just kind of like he could do a lot more in terms of layers and like different emotions and stuff. You can kind
He's
of tell
not
that for sure.
on. Martin Short is not playing Martin Short. Martin Short is actually playing a character, and that is a big difference from what, like, when you see Martin Short speak and he's just always on. I find it to be pretty annoying a lot of the time. Even Only Murders in the Building, a show I like, it just feels like he is so on all the time that it almost becomes distracting.
See, there's a big difference between this kind of performance and this and Clifford. I always hold Clifford as like the so like anti Martin Short movie because when I saw that as a kid, I was just so annoyed. It's Clifford, right? The annoying
It
kid that
is.
he plays like a
I hate that
13-year-old.
movie with a fiery passion.
Yeah, and Charles Grodin's in it, and it's just so like annoying. I just found that so annoying as a kid, and I thought that kind of turned me off to some of his roles. But then you go back to this, it's like he's very much in control. He's not going over the top. His hair is fantastic, and they kind of make a joke about that in the
Really,
movie
really
too.
high quality. Really
Yeah,
high
and
quality.
then so if you want to interpret the ending as that, my interpretation is they become a throuple.
I was kind of getting that vibe as well. So it's really really fascinating to me that that's kind of the impression that you get. I also want to point out that um, what makes this movie so interesting to me is that you have a white person playing a Hispanic person in this movie, somebody who is pretty recognizable, I would say, given the fact that Robert Picardo would go on to be in Star Trek Voyager as well. And I sorry, I was just double checking his Wikipedia to make sure he wasn't like Hispanic at all, but he is of Italian heritage, not a Spanish speaking person, and I believe that he is Hispanic in this movie, which is problematic now. You would not be able to do that.
Total '80s move, right? But
Yes.
I guess it's passable for the time. I wasn't really like offended by it. Like to me, it could have been like an Italian who wants to be Hispanic and he's just Italian at heart, right? Or I don't know because his look was very questionable anyway. It wasn't like a true Hispanic looking cowboy look of that era. It was more like Marty McFly trying to be a cowboy in 1955 dressed the way he did. You know what I mean? Like it's that same kind of vibe
That's
where it's
good.
just like the guy totally misses the mark in the fashion, but he's
He's
so
in a
like
ton of.
into the
I mean,
role.
and the thing is, Picardo's in a lot of Joe Dante movies. Like we talked, he was in Small Soldiers, he was in Matinee, Gremlins 2, The Burbs, Looney Tunes. Like he's in a bunch. So he is definitely one of his repertory players.
Oh, did you see the cameo by Bugs Bunny?
Yes, I did notice
So
that,
there's
which is
some
weird.
toys that are probably worth a lot of money from the '80s that I guess is just chilling in Dennis Quaid's house. And like I'm looking at those toys, I'm like, damn, those are probably worth a lot of money in mint condition if they still work. Because like a lot of those toys from that era are very collectible. Like Looney Tune stuff is not really collectible now, but from that era, it's still like there's a certain market for those kind of toys. So I was kind of marking out for that, and I was kind of thinking like, oh yeah, that's Joe Dante because he's about to bring in that Gremlins 2 connection with Looney Tunes, and then he's
And
going to do a
he
Looney
would
Tunes
do his own
movie.
movie, which was not good, but he did one.
Yeah, I didn't put that on the list, folks, for a reason. So, um, but this was interesting because we had neither had seen this movie. I'd seen the beginning, like I mentioned. So both of
This
us
is a
going to a
very
Joe
it's
Dante movie
very
clean is very
obscure.
rare. Yeah.
It's definitely on the obscure. Like I never even heard of this movie until you recommended it, and
Oh,
certainly it was entertaining.
I've heard of this movie. I've seen the beginning. Like this used to play on TNT a lot, as I recall, and then it kind of just dropped out. But like I said, this is one of those movies I like to go back and see. Like, oh wow, Sherman Oaks Galleria before they made it an outdoor mall and stripped it down. You know what I mean? Like that's the same mall from Commando and Chopping Mall and all those different movies from the '80s, right? So,
It is
uh,
iconic. I mean, Stranger Things clearly aped the look of that mall too.
oh yeah, totally. And you can tell like Stranger Things took some stuff from this because it's like it felt like some of the vibes from season 3 with the Russian in the mall, right? Some of that
Yes,
vibe.
yes,
And I don't know
and
what it is, but the
I think
bad guys
they aped a lot of stuff. That is for sure. But I don't know. I don't
and
really
the weird thing
know.
is the bad guys I don't know if they're all Russian or they're just a mix of like
It's
bad
never
people
totally
working
clear.
for the bad guy that some are Russian. But I couldn't help the line. I noticed the line
It's
too where
kind
the
of an
woman,
implication, but
yeah,
it's
so the woman
not.
goes like, "Wow, like they got this technology down, but it's so old and primitive looking." And that's kind of the joke always that the United States around the '80s time would like come up with this technology like a DeLorean. Like you're gonna put a time machine in a DeLorean, right? Like that's the kind of vibe it is. Is like we're gonna work so hard for our technology that we have to use like the oldest version of the technology to accomplish it and use it and just do it the hard way instead of like a good, clean, efficient way. So I thought that was like totally what we were doing as like a science team in 1987, shrinking people in the hardest way possible instead of doing it like a clean, fine way with like, because the whole idea is that they take away one of the chips and now the guy can't get out of the body because he can't become big anymore. So if they get the chip, so that becomes the MacGuffin. So it's just kind of weird.
Yeah, I think it's really fascinating that Joe Dante's had like he's a pretty big director at this point, coming off of Gremlins, and like he would be doing Gremlins 2 a couple of years later, and we know what a fascinating piece that was. You've got the Burbs, which has recently come up because there's a Peacock version coming out very soon. So it's just fascinating to me that we have this guy and we have this movie that again I had never heard of, and it is very much it's very similar to I'm trying to think of an equivalent of like a moderately successful director, but I think that I was very interested to see what this would look like, and I was not disappointed. I was entertained for the most part, but I definitely think that this is a movie that could only have been made in 1987 or maybe around the same time, just because of how weird it is at times and how there's way too much going on, and like there's like a bunch of subplots that don't necessarily get paid off to the point where it just feels like the ending is like not really an ending sometimes.
Yeah, it's just weird too because I think at certain points Martin Short gets you really laughing, but then it just like the comedy stops for a while because when he goes like I'm possessed, I just laughing my ass. That was like probably the line of the movie of him like just oh my god I'm possessed, and then of course nowadays that would lead to like a conversation about like schizophrenia and you know what I mean like they just didn't have that conversation, right? So I thought that was kind of weird. They were dancing around it because they didn't know how to talk about it. Because like if you hear a voice in your head, clearly there's something wrong, right? But they kind of play it as a joke because it's obviously just Dennis Quaid. So that's kind of some of the positives I would say, and then the negatives I would say is just kind of like the villains. I don't know, they were not that great, and then they became like half people, like hobbits, and then they couldn't get the forced perspective down, like the way that Peter Jackson nailed it down. And I've been on a Hobbit, or not a Hobbit, but a Lord of the Rings
I mean,
binge
it's
lately too.
1987. I think it's I'm not that
I
didn't
don't
really
know.
bother me that
I
much.
felt like they could have figured it out, but they totally messed up the perspective. Because those arms at the end of the movie clearly should not go around the guy if the guy's like half the size of the human being. So there's some perspective issues there. And then at the end, they're like, I don't know. I guess they're just gonna like sneak up and try to kill him at the end, and that's the implication. And even though they're like they're not even breathing in this like suitcase in the back of a car. Very weird stuf. So
You
I'm gonna
have
give
to
it a seven
wonder
out of
if
10.
Joe Johnston directed this movie, would it be better than Joe Dante?
Maybe because maybe we would have got a clearer ending. You know what I mean? And maybe the action would have been a little better. And that's the only thing. Is like the action is not like great. it's just good looking effects. I think that really helps a lot. Um, but the action, like in terms of like when they got the Terminator guy fighting Dennis Quaid in the stomach of Martin Short, it kind of comes up short, so to speak. No pun intended, because it doesn't look like it was a fight. It just looks like they were doing special effects shots on each other, and then the other guy just died. Right? Like it didn't feel like a fight. So I think that was kind of lacking in terms of that, because you really wanted like a
Yeah.
fight between Dennis Quaid and the Terminator guy, and then it really happened. So other than that, I would still give it a 7 out of 10, because I think visually this obviously won the Oscar. Totally, I mean, it was worth it to see all the effects and the way it went down.
Mhm.
You had some of
I
that. What do you
Yeah, go
call
ahead.
it? Honey, I Shrunk the Kid. Right, it had that kind of vibe to it by the end because of the micro stuff and the sneezing and all that stuff. So I thought that was really good.
A
So
little bit of
overall,
the
I think the
growth stuff.
effects helped the movie a lot. The effects really helped the movie a lot.
I'm at about 6.5 out of 10. I did have a little bit of difficulty fully understanding every element. But I do have to say that like this just worked. It really did. Like it ultimately somehow worked. Almost improbably. But I just give a lot of credit to Joe Dante for just being willing to go to places that I don't think a lot of other directors would go to. And it's just unfortunate that basically after Looney Tunes, there's like no Joe Dante movies. Like he directed episodes of TV. I mean, he was directing episodes of Hawaii Five O, which is ridiculous to me.
Yeah, that doesn't really seem like it fits, right? But sometimes you just got to collect that paycheck and
I mean, look,
still
if
be on
he's got to
people's
pay the rent,
radar, I
man, like
guess.
I don't blame him one bit. Like go out there and get your bag, but it just sucks that we don't have like a late career resurgence because it feels like why
Well,
is
if
Chris
anyone can
Columbus?
really help, it's Spielberg, right? Like he's been a big, it's been like a big producing
I mean,
directing combo.
I'm sure he got a pretty sweet deal with the Gremlins animated show. I'm sure he's going to
And
get
are we going
something.
to really get Gremlins 3? Is like that's been the rumor the last 2 years, and someone said it got a green light, and I'm not sure if that's officially
Chris
official.
Columbus is going to direct it, and I don't think it's going to be that good. Um, because I mean, Joe Dante. When you make Gremlins 2, the way that he made Gremlins 2, you really can't make Gremlins 3, if that makes sense. Like
It's
you
like, where
either
do we go from here, kind of
it's
thing.
like why like go back to trying to like make lore and shit like that. Like you've made a ridiculous like something ridiculous. And it's really good, but like don't try to be like, okay, now we're gonna make a real sequel to Gremlins, because I don't think that's a good idea at this point, all these years later.
We'll see, because I think that was it a Mountain Dew commercial or a Dr. Pepper commercial that got that big reaction. I think it was Mountain Dew, but that kind of got the ball rolling in terms of that talk again when they actually got Billy to come back as that character. So you never
I
know.
mean, there's
But
a big difference between that and big difference between doing a commercial that pops people on social media and a movie, you know?
yeah. So I guess we're going to transition a little bit next week, because we're going to because the Burbs came out in '89. I told everyone that's the main event. So we're gonna jump ahead to 1993 with Matinee, which is a movie I saw in theaters and just did not understand as a kid. Um, I don't think I'm supposed to understand it as a kid. It's very much like a movie within a movie, and that really confused me. Going in, I thought it was about a giant mantis. To be honest, I thought it was a giant mantis movie. The way it
What?
looked to me. I mean,
What?
as like a 5-year-old, I mean, look at the poster and look at the footage. Like the movie within the movie is the giant mantis movie, which was I thought was the real
That's
movie.
amazing to me.
Hey man, advertising as a kid, you never know how you interpret things. And then
I
it
mean,
turns
that's
out to
pretty
be
funny
a
to me.
movie. Oh,
That's good.
yeah, it's a movie about a movie producer trying to reinvigorate the box office with gimmicks, and that's essentially the movie, which is weird. Which is I don't
That's
know. But I
absolutely
wanted
crazy.
to go and visit it because it's John Goodman, and you got the key players of the Joe Dante universe, and it's part black and white, part color, and it's got that '50s look, and it's all about the love of movies from that era. So it's like, okay, maybe there's something here that I missed as a kid,
Clearly,
obviously, and we're gonna revisit it. So you've seen it before?
I think I've seen it. It was a long time ago.
Okay, so we're kind of on the same boat. This is going to be a revisit. It's going to be interesting because we both love the cast. It's just this execution of the plot, whether or not that connects or not. is going to be the key because this movie is like another Joe Dante love fest of the past. If you've ever seen Piranha, you can tell he has a love for B movies, and that's kind of the heart of Joe Dante is like those 50s, 60s B
I am
movies.
going to be so curious to because, like I said, if I saw this movie, I saw it probably when I was too young. So revisiting this is probably a good thing.
For sure. And I mean, John Goodman, like, come on. And I know John Goodman was having a medium kind of run at this time. And it kind of ended on a high note with Flintstones, but this was before that, like a year before that, I think.
I
Maybe
mean,
even
the thing
like
is, like,
a few months,
parallel
maybe.
to his run on Roseanne, like he was in I mean, he was in Arachnophobia. Like he had a career going. Like I don't know that it was super box officey until the Flintstones, but like I mean, he's pretty consistently worked in movies, and you got to
I
give him
mean,
credit.
yeah, I mean, he's to me, he's like the Babe Ruth like actor. You know what I mean? Like the only actor that I know of that kind of portrayed Babe Ruth in a whole movie, not including the one from Sandlot because that was just a scene. But you know what I mean? It's like
Right?
there's only one Babe Ruth movie in my mind, and that's the one with John Goodman. So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting, folks, because it's going to be an interesting watch. So, and of course, like I said, the Burbs is the main event. We'll talk about that in the main event slot in a couple weeks. But for now, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon.